let's welcome Team Blackburn, an Aussie in Moscow, Team Blackburn.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me okay? Can you see the slides okay? Fantastic. Have you ever traveled somewhere so foreign that it's hard to recognize where you're traveling? I'm going to share you some experience traveling to Moscow. And the three things that really stood out for me is the climate, the language, and the history. I come from a tropical climate from Western Australia, and we're coming out of our summer back in March 2013. We had long, hot summers, warm beaches, and sand as far as you can see. But I had to embark on a trip to Moscow. It takes 20 hours from flights from our city here in Perth, Western Australia, to get to Moscow in the USSR. The biggest thing that I found was the temperature. As soon as the flight landed at the Sarajevo airport in Moscow, in the middle of the woods, I didn't realize how cold it was going to be. Coming from a warm climate, I had never experienced or even seen snow before. So this was going to be an adventure of a lifetime. I remember when the airport's doors opened up, I was shocked by how cold the wind hit me. I was wearing just jeans, a light shirt, because we're coming out of a hot summer of Australia, into -2 degrees Celsius in Moscow. I was so cold. All my thoughts just froze. I couldn't even think straight as we rushed to get into the taxi on the way to the airport. -2, you say, that must be cold. But with my stay in Russia, it got down to -20 degrees. It is absolutely freezing in the winters of Moscow. I didn't mind when it was snowing, but what really got to me was the sunny days in Moscow, because when you have sun, what happens? The ice melts. And with the ice melting, it felt even colder. It felt like you were stuck in a freezer and it was thawing out. It was absolutely cold. I had to quickly change my attire from wearing my jeans and t-shirt. I had to buy some gloves, beanies, some thermal underwear, so to keep the body warm. The biggest issue I found also in Russia is the language. I'm not familiar with the Russian language, and it got me really confused. I remember getting to the taxi, and the taxi driver spoke very little English. I had to try and navigate. How am I going to communicate with the taxi driver where I'm going to go and find out how much my taxi fare was going to cost? It was going to be a really challenging exercise. I remember the taxi driver dropping me off at a venue, which was not where I was staying. How am I going to navigate from here? I said. The taxi driver dropped me off and just left me on the street. How am I going to figure out where my hotel is? The signs on the street were foreign. And when I rang the hotel to describe what I was looking at, there were grey buildings on my left, there were grey buildings on the right, and a grey road in front of me. How is the hotel going to help determine where I am so I can get to the taxi? After a bit of fumbling around with the discussions, luckily the hotel reception recognized where I was able to come get another taxi to pick me up and take me to the hotel. The other area that I found really fascinating is the history. Where I come from in Australia, our city only got established in the early 1800s. And so when we got to Russia, the history goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so when we got to this museum in St. Petersburg, the museum is called the Hermitage. And so we thought, oh, we'll allow an hour to go through this museum. Because in Australia, you only need to take an hour to go through our history and you're done. How difficult could it be? But as soon as we walked into the museum at the Hermitage, we quickly realized there's no way that we were able to go through the museum just in 1 hour. There were artworks from Leo da Vinci. There were artworks with all throughout history from early century right through to the 20th century. They had a lot of amazing statues from Greece, from Italy, of marble, which just was absolutely fabulous. The artwork on the walls depicted all the wars that have gone through the world. I come from a peaceful country. We don't have any wars to depict of. The only wars we have might be dealing with a simple rifle. But in Russia, there were tanks, the military weapon armory. Just took us to a different realm of what wars were like. It went through history like Napoleon, through to the modern World War II. The history of the war was just so different to what I'm familiar with. So in summary, I found Russia just a fascinating country, full of history, full of different climatic differences, from the warm summers to the freezing winters, and a different landscape, to snow, to the flowering tulips, and the language. To adapt and learn a new language can be terrifying but exciting at the same time. So I encourage you, go explore the world. You'll find different countries, different ways of life fascinating, as I had in Russia. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Wow, what a fascinating trip to Russia. Did you all enjoy that? Anyone wants to grab a ticket, just fly to Russia now? Make sure you have your heaviest snow coat with you. It's gonna be a cold time there. Thank you so much, Tim.
I'd like to start with our first evaluator for Tim. Yes. I'll just get my agenda up, and that's Deborah. So Deborah, is she there in the house? Hi, Deborah from Spain. Buenos dias. Over to you, Deborah.
Thank you very much, Medeb. Tim, congratulations on your speech. And Aussie in Moscow, I really like your speech. And I think you excel at the purpose of your project, which was writing a speech with purpose. Congratulations on that, because you really achieved your main purpose, which was on the conclusion, which was to encourage us to travel and enjoy the world, and to find fascinating and different countries and enjoy them. So congratulations on that. Your speech was very well written and it was clearly focused. It was with a clear structure, the introduction with the three things that you find different from Moscow or Russia and Australia, and then focusing on each of them, and then the conclusion. One of the style that you chose, I think it was trying to be humorous, and here I want you to give you a tip to improve even better your amazing speech, because one of the things that you told me you want me to focus on, it was the vocal variety. I think you maintain a vocal variety throughout all your speech, but I think you could have even given more emphasis in the humorous part. For instance, can you imagine when the ice melted down? Like there, you put a bit more emphasis, and I think I could have seen you or even myself there melting with the ice in the street of Moscow. Other thing that it could have been useful to introduce much more vocal variety and a bit of sense of humor. I come from a peaceful country. When you were mentioning that in Russia they have a lot of army background. Can you imagine myself? Like things like that? Not too much. Don't over abuse it, but in a specific point, I think it could have made a very, very great speech. So just to conclude, congratulations on your speech. You really made me want to travel even more, and you made me see Russia from your eyes, because living in Spain, we have like a combination of both hot and cold. But when I was seeing you, I was really like, wow, he was struggling there. And in that sense, one other point to improve, I would have loved to see pictures of you in Moscow, like freezing there under the snow and so on. It would have been really amazing for your speech. So congratulations on your speech. Well done. And thank you very much, because I really enjoy it. Thank you, Tim. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much for this great evaluation.